Welcome to the monthly Marquee. I'm your host, Bart Levins, director of the Hardin County Schools Performing Arts Center. Our first guest this month is PAC Kid Spotlight, Daniel Harris from Central Hardin High School. Daniel, thank you so much for being with me this morning.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me.
So this is your big fall break today.
Yes,
is
sir.
What we're doing. Thank you so much for spending time from your fall break with us. Really appreciate it. And first radio interviews for you, right?
I'm sorry?
This morning was the first time you'd done a radio interview?
Yes, sir.
So what was that experience like?
Oh, it was certainly interesting. I would have never have guessed to hear myself just be on the radio or just experience these kind of things.
Well, and as we were talking briefly before we went on air, it's really important for the PAC to have students like you who are willing to give up their free time or school time in some cases to help promote the PAC and the things that we do. Why is the PAC important to you?
PAC is important to me because it's a place where a lot of things can happen. It's a place where magical things can happen. It's a place where people can become things that they're not. It's a place where people can see others in a way or in a light that you would have never have guessed or seen them.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. In your, you've done a couple of shows now.
Yes, sir.
So what's your experience as a young man getting to explore a character not like yourself?
As myself, getting to be these characters is like kind of playing an imagination. It's like how I was as a kid. You would have a box and pretend you were an astronaut or things like that. It's kind of like that. But you get to show the world that you can do this, that you can be something that you're not, or that things like that.
So what's a character that you've played that was different from you?
I would have to say in my first one, as in Radium Girls, as Edward Marquee. He was kind of a slimy lawyer who just wanted the money.
Gotcha.
And
that's not like you.
No.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
And so what did you learn from that experience playing somebody so different from yourself?
I kind of learned to broaden myself, broaden who I am and how I speak, how I do things, and how I act.
And have you ever seen someone perform on stage and then met them afterward and they were entirely different? Or vice versa, if someone you knew very well and then saw on stage and they were a completely different person. Have you had that experience?
Oh, yes, of course. Plenty of times.
Give me an example of some experience like that.
In the recent one, Mamma Mia,
Yeah.
Aloria Fraser,
Yeah.
as an example, I could see any part that she plays and just see a completely different person.
And how do you think, because you've experienced that a little bit, how do you do that? How do you become someone else?
To become someone else is just to kind of channel an inner difference in you, to just be different. Mm-hmm. It's like you get to kind of put a mask on and it's like the mask is you. Mm-hmm. And you get to kind of just have fun.
I'm very much of the opinion that I think I learned it from Mr. Rogers, which is something else you don't have any knowledge of. But I think there's good and bad in everyone. Mm-hmm. And the levels of good and bad are determined by how we're raised, our friends, who we associate with. But we all have levels of good and bad in us. Any character or personality trait is within us. So like when you say finding that difference within yourself, I totally identify with that. Mm-hmm. Because when you take on a character, for me anyway, you accentuate the parts of your own personality that fit the need of that character, and you maybe downgrade some of the things that don't fit that character. Yeah. So it's a balance kind of system. Would you agree with something like that?
Yeah, most certainly.
And I think another thing that I get personally from watching people on stage and performing on stage, I personally do not think it's possible to be a good actor without having empathy. Do you understand what I mean by empathy?
Oh, yes, of course.
So how do you define empathy?
I would define empathy as understanding
Yeah.
how someone feels. That
Yeah.
like if someone's feeling like pain or some like losing a loved one, you can feel that because you've either lost a loved one or you can understand how
Right.
those emotions correlate.
And I think it's also a matter of human experience. You know, at this age, you've never been married. You've never, do you drive yet?
No.
But you can imagine how driving. You can
Yes.
imagine getting married. You can imagine all of these things, and you see the life experience of others who have done that thing. You've watched your mom and dad be in love. You've watched them drive, and so you mimic those things, and you have an empathy for the feelings that they've had. And the reason I bring all of that up, you have determined that your future after Central Hardin High School is to go to Campbellsville University, and you're going to be studying to be a minister.
Yes, sir.
So, what was the what for you was the instigating moment that went, "This is my calling"?
It was mostly just I have experienced God throughout my whole life. I've seen so many people who either don't understand or just don't quite get what I'm saying whenever I try to speak like a minister.
Gotcha.
And my calling is like I want others to feel what I feel, to understand how I feel and what I've gone through.
And not to dig too deep into all of that, how does God shape what you do and how you deal with others, particularly others that may not agree with your feelings?
I would have to say God has kind of given me a personality to where I can treat others with the same amount of kindness as me. Others that don't understand, I can be kind to them, and we can try to like understand on the same level, to where if they don't understand what I do, I can try to explain it to them.
And I think I would use the words common ground, finding common ground, and I'm very excited for you to be studying the ministry. It is not uncommon for people who are interested in ministry to have interest in performance. There's a definite overlap of skills, not just being able to be charismatic and to be a leader and to be on stage and comfortable being on stage with the sound of your own voice, but as we were just talking, empathy. You have to have empathy to minister to your flock.
Yeah.
You have to find the common ground, and one of the ways to find common ground is to imagine yourself in that other person's position. All skills that you're learning as you're performing as an actor in shows at Central Hardin. What is the role you're currently working on with Central Hardin?
The role I'm currently working with is in Urinetown, I'm Officer Lockstock. He is a narrator that kind of plays a part in the show as a policeman.
Well, I can already hear our audience is always going, what was the name of that show?
Urinetown.
So tell us a little bit about the title of the show and what that means.
The title of the show is Urinetown. It's exactly what you'd expect. The premise of the show is that people have to pay to use the restrooms, to use public restrooms, because it takes place in a dystopian future where there's not much water, and there's a lot of just public bathrooms. Private bathrooms are basically unthinkable. They're non-existent, and even like the richer people have to use the public bathrooms.
And this is because there's a water shortage.
Yes.
And so how does your character fit in with the rest of the ensemble?
My character fits in because he is a narrator. He kind of introduces everything. And as the officer of the town, he has to kind of keep everything in check.
Gotcha. And for me, I think it's important for the actor and for the audience that there is an arc, a character arc. How is your character at the beginning of the show And how is he at the end of the show? And what is his character arc?
His character arc, he doesn't really change much throughout the show.
He's a constant.
He's kind of a constant.
Gotcha, okay.
He's kind of the same at the beginning. He's always kind of charismatic and really out there, as the narrator of the show should be, of course. And throughout the show, he kind of knows the story. He knows how it ends. So he's just like, okay, I'm going to do my part in this whole story.
Gotcha. And your intent will be at the Hardin County Schools Performing Arts Center the weekend of October 19th. And folks can go online to our website, look at the big calendar on our homepage, and get more information. This was a Tony Award-winning musical several years ago. Well, more than several. But and it's a fascinating. There's politics, there's romance, there's comedy. It's just. Have you enjoyed working on the piece?
Oh, most certainly. I would have to say that it's just really fun to do these dance numbers and to just interact with all these people in this way.
What's your favorite song in the show?
My favorite, oh man, I cannot tell you. There's so many good songs. A common one that I see a lot of people loving is my song that I sing. It's a cop song. Kind of is like a catchy, it's got a little catchy beat to it. It talks about how all these people have been sent to this urine town and how we have caught them and how proud we are of our job.
Well, cool. Daniel, thank you so much for spending the morning with me. Really appreciate your help.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. I can't tell you how much of an experience this has been.
Excellent. Thank you. We are going to jump to some clips of Daniel from Radium Girls. Production Central Hardin High School took to competition through the Kentucky Theater Association a couple of years ago. I think it was a couple of years ago. Stay tuned.
My name is Daniel Harris. I am in 11th grade, and I play Edward Markley and the photographer. Edward Markley is a lawyer against, or more of a prosecutor, against Miss Grace Fryer. Any connections to the others?
Only by virtue of employment.
Only this one has a good lawyer.
Knows how to write a good letter anyway. Ugh, that lawyer.
And she no longer works here.
Left 6 months ago.
Edward Markley is more of a slimy, sneaky character who tries his best to get what he needs and whatever he thinks is correct.
But I haven't heard from her people yet.
Well, it's too late for them anyways. Statute of limitations is only 2 years. But Miss Coozer's another story. She's in a position to make some trouble now.
Markley thinks that the whole radium situation is just all a hoax and that the girls are just fine or they've gotten sick from some other reason other than the plant or the radium.
Mr. Barry, I must object to this kind of histrionics.
I had nothing to do with that, Mr. Markham.
I've been in this game a long time, Mr. Barry. When I see a case like this, move over the wires. I'm not so naive as to believe that plaintiff's attorney has nothing to do with it.
And what's your proposal?
$1,500 for each girl.
$1,500?
Not even a year's wages!
I think it's very generous, considering your case won't survive the statute of limitations.
This is a case in equity, sir. The Chancery Court will come to a different conclusion.
The Chancery Court can't rewrite the law, and the law is clear. 2 years from the date of injury, your clients are simply out of time.
2 years from the date the cause of the injury is discovered.
Very creative, Mr. Barry, very clever. I do have to admire your imagination.
Our next guest, representing Hardin County Playhouse, please welcome Shamika Freeman. So good to see you again.
It's good to be here.
Well, you know, we were talking before we went on the air. The last time I saw you, there were lots of things in the works.
Yes.
And it was like a pot boiling, and we had to keep the lid on the lot.
Exactly.
Because it was still simmering. Soup was not ready yet. Soup is done.
Soup is done. And we're so super excited about it, and it's going to be delicious. I'm so excited about this. We have Ghost Walk coming up. And that's still going to be downtown E-Town. That is October 13th and 27th. It starts at 7 p.m. It goes to 10 p.m. or depends on the crowds there. Mm-hmm. We have a brand new partnership with HCEC-TV, which I'm so so super excited about.
Well, we'll talk about that. I want
Yes.
to talk a little bit more about the Ghost Walk.
Yes, okay.
Just in case there's somebody watching who is not familiar with the Ghost Walk, you guys have been doing this for several years now.
Yes, we go around downtown and we tell basically all the ghost stories that happen around E-Town. And you'd be surprised how many sightings there have been. Even in the Plum Alley Theater, we had our own special ghost there. But we have got a guided tour all around downtown. The cost is $5. It's a great evening out. And afterwards, you can always go to all the bars and restaurants downtown. And it's a fun family atmosphere. It's not too scary, but you will just a little bit. Yes.
And that's the 13th and the 27th.
I'm pretty sure this is 27th.
Okay.
It's the second and next to last Saturdays.
Gotcha. And is there a cost for that?
It's $5 per person.
Very cool. Now, on to the big news. Your partnership with Elizabethtown Community Technical College.
Yes, I'm so excited about this. We are going to be performing in the auditorium in the Science Building. Our first show there will be A Tuna Christmas. The dates aren't settled, but it is definitely happening.
Okay.
I'm directing that show, and we actually had our first rehearsal last night, so I'm really super excited. We're still in some needs of some technical aspects, and we really want to pull from the ECTC campus of students, because they do have a theater program there, and hopefully, it's going to coincide just great, and it's going to be a wonderful marriage and partnership. So it's just such a big weight lifted off of everybody.
Sure.
So, because for a while, we didn't know where we were going to go. But we still do have our building fund, and we still plan on moving forward. And sooner or later down the road, we want to have our own building and our own facility. But right now, this partnership is the perfect thing. This will bridge that gap until we are able to reach that goal in the future.
And this is not a return home for the Hardin County Playhouse, but this is a space that your organization has familiarity with.
Yes. A few years back, before we moved to the Plum Alley Theater, Hardin County Playhouse did do some shows over in that space. Once the Plum Alley Theater opened, we cut ties. Everything was ended, but we just moved on to our own space. So now that the State Theater didn't renew our lease, we were in a big dilemma, and it was time to try to find something, and this just happened to open up again.
And for your audiences that are accustomed to the Hardin County Playhouse space at Plum Alley, tell them what they're going to see. What's going to be unique and different about this new space? Because I love that space.
Yes.
It's really fun.
It is. There's
Playhouse is a great space.
But this one is,
and they both have their own challenges.
Yes.
But this is very exciting.
Exactly. There's more seats. That's a big plus. So that way we can have bigger audiences. We can most likely do more than 2 weekends if possible. The space itself, it is going to be a challenge for a set designer. Since the space is going to be used throughout the school year, we have to be able to basically make portable sets.
Sure.
So that's going to be a big challenge. Other than that, the intimacy of the space is wonderful. It still feels like you're right there, like you did in Plum Alley Theater. And actually the stage is up a little bit higher, so it gives everybody a better perspective and seeing all the exact details of what's happening on stage.
It's not in the round, but
it's a proscenium.
It's
with a big lip.
Big lip, yeah.
Which that is a big challenge, but because it's deeper than it is wider.
Yes.
And as a director, you always have to think about those sight lines and all the pretty pictures. So that right there is going to be a bit of a challenge, but I know we can get it.
Well, and it's like any space. The more I've gotten to the point now at the PAC where I know where the sightlines are.
Yes.
When I first started directing at the PAC, I would sit in 18 seats downstairs and upstairs to make sure everything looked right. And now I can sit all the way here and all the way here, and I know that the sightlines upstairs will be fine because
Right.
they are downstairs.
Right.
But you have to find those
Exactly,
things.
and that is going to be my biggest challenge, especially with Tuna Christmas because it's a rapid, fast-paced comedy. It's a family favorite, so I want to make sure that everybody gets the best perspective as possible. Brandon Spooner is a wonderful light designer, so that's going to help with a lot of our setting issues. Like we probably won't have real walls.
Right.
Just like a space where they can run and change and then run back out as their next character. So I'm really excited about the challenge because it's so new. You know, everything there, it's going to be new and refreshing. And we've got a new lighting system that we're going to try to put in place there, which is super exciting to have intelligent lights out. I'm like, director's dream, like I want to spot here and spot there, and we don't have to worry about so many spotlights. But also the UFO effect, that's going to be a challenge.
Oh yes, and there's a moment in the play
Yes.
where UFO
Takes
not
someone.
spoiler alert. But
Yeah, spoiler alert. Yeah, somebody gets abducted in my show, but that's okay. But we have lighting to challenge with that. But the good thing about that stage, we kind of looked at it. The front of it already kind of looks at the top like a
Oh, sure.
spaceship.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
like we're just like, yes, this is going to be awesome. So like just all the ideas of creativity and flows of all of us as a unit just coming in and just saying, this is a brand new space. We're ready for this new challenge, and we're going to make this rock. And we're going to make sure that Hardin County Playhouse is around for another 49 years.
Well, speaking of which, what other plans are in the works?
Well, we have Tuna Christmas in December. In March, we're going to be doing a Crucible with a partnership of Central Hardin High School. Now, Sarah will be directing that show. And
Where's their drama coach?
yes, I'm sorry.
That's quite right.
And if you do want to audition, because auditions are actually coming up for that pretty quickly, you have to fill out a Hardin County schools
check.
background check. Exactly.
And because I've been in the background helping with
Yes.
that just a little bit. This is a Central Hardin High School, their big drama
Yes.
production of the year. And the young women's roles will be cast from Central Hardin High School.
That's correct.
And then the adult roles in the show will be open to audition through Hardin County Playhouse.
That is correct.
And those adults, because they're going to be working so closely with the high school students, they need to go through a volunteer background check.
Exactly. And it's only $10, and it's one of those things that stays on the record for a little while. So if you ever work with them again, you don't have to go through that.
And just
again.
think of it as a participation fee.
Exactly. And so that we'll do a weekend at the PAC, and then we're going to do a weekend at ECTC. And then the spring, I'm directing A Midsummer Night's Dream in Radcliffe City Park. We're going to use the amphitheater out there and make it a Shakespearean type festival. And then that's going to be one weekend in Radcliffe, and then one weekend at ECTC. We're going to do the same festival within ECTC's courtyard.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be a challenge as an outdoor drama, and it's midsummer. Shakespeare is also, a challenge within
Now,
itself.
has HCP done an outdoor drama piece
No.
before? Okay.
And
Another new challenge.
Exactly, and it's been a very, very long time since they've ever done any Shakespeare. So I'm beyond excited because I'm like, Shakespeare, I love it. And it's midsummer. What's not to love about Midsummer Night's Dream? And to find a place where you can actually do it outside and it's shaded but not too, exposed.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? And ECTC is really super excited about it too. We're planning on bringing in food trucks and just really making it a festival, like
Yeah.
a true, maybe Renaissance kind of flair with it. So we're in the planning for that, but don't have the dates nailed down, but it's definitely going to be in June.
Has there been any thought toward the announcement for the following season and the plans
Not
for
yet.
that? First things first.
Yes, exactly. Like, let's make it through this season. But we'll probably start planning for next season around January, February. We are doing an abbreviated season this year because
It is.
it is what it
It is what
is.
it is, yeah.
And hopefully next season we'll be able to add either 2 or 3 more shows. So we might not be at full capacity of doing 6 shows just for the next couple of seasons, but we're still alive and we're still out there working, and we're still doing great art.
Well, and here's the thing that I'm hearing through everything that you're saying right now. Hardin County Playhouse is Hardin County's community theater group.
Yes.
And everything that you're talking about doing shows at HCEC, you're talking about working with one of the high schools for production, you're talking about doing shows at the PAC as well as HCEC, and the park in Radcliffe and the outdoor amphitheater space at HCEC. That's our community.
Yes, yes, it is.
That is who you are, and that's wonderful to in this time when you don't have a roof over your head, to embrace that.
Exactly, and I'm just so glad that the community is embracing us back.
Yeah.
And everyone has been so super supportive. I've got to actually speak with the women's group in Vine Grove, and different other groups, just trying to promote and be like, hey, we're still alive, and please come out and still see us. So ticket sales hopefully we'll have everything listed within the next month on Ticket Leap and on our website.
Great. And again, because you're doing so many things. Oh, and the Ghost Walk downtown.
Yes.
I forgot that. Six.
Exactly.
You do have 6 things going on.
Yes, we do. They're just not all in one building. But it's just the 6th this time. And next year, hopefully, it'll be those 6 or something like that again. And we'll build on that too. We've been talking about different plays that are a little bit smaller,
Sure.
like maybe doing Tuna Vegas or Night Mother or something like that. But we do have a play committee that meets within the board, and we'll go through all the different scripts and decide what we want to do and what we might be able to do.
Right.
And you know how the process is with
Oh, yeah.
picking plays. So once that is set in stone, we'll announce the new season. Hopefully that announcement should be able to be made in March during the Crucible.
Pretty typical.
Yeah, exactly. So we're just trying to get back on our feet and keep it going.
Cool. And because you're all over the place and doing so many
Yes.
things, the one place that people can go to know exactly what's happening is to your website.
Correct. And our Facebook page.
Right.
So be sure to check both of those out. Usually the announcements, they hit both places usually at the same time, like for auditions. I know auditions for the Crucible is coming up. I want to say it's next month, or it might be in November. I'm really not 100% on that. But I also know that Midsummer auditions will be in February.
Gotcha. Very good.
So, yeah.
So nice to see you again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, folks, that's going to wrap things up for this month's edition of the Monthly Marquee. I'm your host, Bart Lovins, Director for Hardin County Schools Performing Arts Center. Be seeing you back at the PAC soon.
'Cause you got to love it, yeah. So, time. 'Cause I'm moving on the groove. 'Cause you got to love it, yeah. So, time. 'Cause I'm moving on.
What's on your bucket list? A performer's bucket list is a bit different from most folks in that it is more likely to include fictional or historical characters than it is skydiving or visiting Hawaii. These dream roles are acting parts we as performers are longing to cross off our personal to-do lists. And while some dream roles, like Peter Pan, have long since passed me by, I came close, twice, oh so close. Several still await me. I will be tackling one of them this November when I take on Ebenezer Scrooge in our radio drama version of Dickens' Christmas Carol. I know what you're saying. Bart's way too young to play Scrooge. You are saying that, right? You are, right? Well, since this is a radio production, it isn't necessary for me to look the part, but I had sure better sound the part. And after decades of character roles and a dozen or more puppet voices in my head, I think I'm up to the challenge. More challenging, though, I think is going to be making him believably curmudgeonly at the beginning of the story and then successfully navigating his transformation by the end of the play into a new man, drunk on the milk of human kindness. To be honest, I could really use your help. This production will be recorded before 2 live audiences who will lend their applause, vocal responses, and yes, even participate in the goings-on by providing sound effects and maybe even bits of dialogue and song. So what do you say? Let's get Christmas started a little bit early this year. Come be a part of all the fun on November 3rd.